It just seems so obvious.
Sure.
To build on that, we were telling short stories with video game characters, cutscenes before we did Love, Death, and Robots. So it really was. I felt stupid more than anything. And then everybody else said, Tim, why did it take you so long? You must be stupid.
Hey guys, I am Joe Deckelmeyer with Screen Rant. We are at New York Comic Con 2024. I am with Tim Miller and Dave Wilson for the incredible show Secret Level. Let me tell you, this show blew my fucking mind. It is incredible. I loved it. For both of you, what lessons from Love, Death, and Robots influenced the direction of Secret Level, especially in the realm of video game animation?
Dude, your excitement is exhausting. I don't know if I can keep this up, ladies and gentlemen.
It's a great show, man.
That was great.
Let me tell you.
That's a Tim Miller compliment. 28
Yeah.
That's the best thing.
That is. I am so happy to be here. Can I say 28 San Diego Comic Cons? I'm a newbie to New York Comic Con, but I'm going to come back because I like this. This energy here is good.
Hell yeah.
It's like New York, man. It's
love it.
packed. It is fucking packed out there.
Absolutely.
Sorry, now, what was your question?
My question was,
I didn't ask any questions.
for the both of you, what lessons did you learn from Death, Love, and Robot that influenced the direction of Secret Level, especially in the realm of video game animation?
I feel like Love, Death, and Robots actually came out of our work in the video game industry because Blur is known for 30 years. We've been making cutscenes and trailers and things like that, and that kind of gave us this love of the short form and animation, which translated to Love, Death, and Robots. And in fact, when we pitched Love, Death, and Robots, I just put basically Blur's reel on a iPad and said, "Yeah, we just want to do a lot of shit like this, right?" And that sold the show. So this feels like full circle to us.
Exactly like that. It was just a reel and a show.
It was exactly.
They were like, greenlit.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
Not quite. It helps to have David Fincher in the room.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's
big.
How did your existing relationship with the video game animation space help shape the development and direction for Secret Level?
Like Tim said, we've a lot of the games in the series are folks who we worked with for 20, 30 years. Some of them are almost trusting to an intimidating place, like the Exodus. Is the new game coming out, and they have an episode in our series. And James Olin, who runs Archetype, we did all the Old Republic trailers with James and. When they were making those games, and he sort of just gets out of the way. He's like, I don't, whatever you guys want to do, I trust you. And you feel like that's freeing, but it's really just intimidating in the fact like it's only ours to mess up at that point. But that, it was
aside from creating a gigantic fucking, space opera world with some of the greatest authors.
The art director at
Peter Hamilton, Adrian Tchaikovsky.
Oh yes. And the art director at Archetype is an ex-Blurian, Jeremy Cook, who we've known for years too. But I think that the two things is the trust of that community, but also the sort of outcry. For every trailer we ever released, there were comments I wish there was a whole series, I wish there was a feature like this. And the series is us sort of heeding the call that and we've wanted to see it for all those years too. So it's sort of a head slap moment of why didn't we do this sooner?
Sure.
Which is really Tim's fault more than anyone else's.
Well, yeah.
Speaking of that, Tim, when you first mentioned the idea of Love, Death, and video games, what were some of the immediate responses and feedback that you received from the team?
Which team?
The team at Blur.
At Blur?
Yeah. It was like, what? Why would?
Yeah. It really was honestly, the EP just looked at me and went, oh my God, I can sell the fuck out of that, and it really was, like Dave said, an epiphany of a moment because it just seemed so obvious.
Sure.
To build on that, we were telling short stories with video game characters, cutscenes before we did Love, Death, and Robots. So it really was. I felt stupid more than anything, and then everybody else said, "Tim, why did it take you so long? You must be stupid." That was the first reaction.
No, that was the understood statement.
Yeah.
Dave, can you elaborate on the diverse game selection that caters to both hardcore gamers and general audiences?
Yes, the game selection is like a complicated process that would take too long to answer in one sitting. But
Something for everyone.
Yes, but the show is broken into tiers, like 15, 10, 5 minutes, because we wanted to get not only sort of AAA franchises and long-standing, franchises, but also like indies and nostalgia titles, and as best we could try to curate for sort of science fiction, fantasy, humor, as much as we can. Like, that's the beauty of the anthology format, is that you can make something for everyone, and underneath all of that is just to find a story that resonates, like not just specifically on that one game level, but on a very sort of human level. And that was our way of sort of hopefully inviting sort of not just gamers but non-gamers to our series too.
Yeah, from what I read, I know that your guys' wish list was pretty large. So how do you sum that down to 15 and select those IPs for Secret Level, and what key factors influence those choices?
I wouldn't make the mistake of saying that the 15 that are in there now are like our 15 top picks and everything. Sure. Yeah, because it's a complicated, like,
right,
who can do it, when new games are coming out or releases. So there's so many more that are on my list of things that games that we would like to do. So hopefully, we all are hoping for more Secret Level.
Yeah, we are.
But it's really a choice of, like, who do we talk to first? A lot of the people that are in the games that are in the show are clients that have worked with Blur or some of these other companies that are part of a little consortium of animation friends and family, because they trust us and they'd worked with us before. And this really is a weird kind of a thing, to have all these different games from different publishers and people that are normally competitors all sort of working together. But I think it's great, and I think the more we got into the show, the more we could see how it'll be a tide that lifts all boats,
right,
in a way that you couldn't do it if you just said, well, it's only going to be Xbox or it's only going to be PlayStation or whatever. This is truly a celebration of games.
It is, absolutely. And I think the excitement that I had watching it was seeing which game was going to pop up on the screen by which episode I watched, because I would get excited for certain games that I was very familiar with, and your take on them blew me away. One of the ones I want to talk about was Dungeons & Dragons from the first season, which is a tabletop RPG. Are there any other tabletop RPGs or board games that kind of fit into this you'd like to adapt for a future season?
Yes. Like, it wasn't just video games. We, like, without mentioning like specific ones, but like, gaming isn't just video games. Like, sure, obviously Warhammer's in there too, and they just came out with Space Marine, but like, that's a tabletop game too. That's where their roots are and like their strength is. If card games, board games, whatever, I'd love to see it open up. I want to celebrate all gaming, not just video gaming.
In a weird way, too, our Honor of Kings episode is built around playing a board game. A board game. So,
that's
yes,
awesome. Now, can you guys explain the pitch pool system and how it works and how certain things get selected? Or is
the games or the stories?
The stories.
The stories.
And the games, I guess.
We tried to recreate as much as possible the exploration and finding story process that we had in Love, Death, and Robots, which is mostly just me reading short story books and finding ones that I liked. But we had a really great list of authors that we liked working with and that trusted us because we treated stories of theirs that we developed before well. So we would go to them, we'd build a big deck. Dave would talk to the developer and he'd come back with a list of do's and don'ts and a big fucking deck of everything about the game. And we'd have some guidance, usually from the IP holder or the publisher, about what might be a good place to explore. And then we'd take them to authors that we thought had an affinity for the material, whether it was sci-fi or fantasy, whatever. And we'd get pitches from them. It could be a page, it could be 2 pages. And it gave us a wide variety. They'd give us some really crazy ideas, and then they'd give us some really beautiful ideas, but all of them were things that we never would have thought of if we left it to just Dave and I sitting in a room trying to come up.
Like I said, the beauty of the anthology is variety, and it would be a shame if it was just Tim and I coming up with ideas. God knows what every
episode would be people killing each other.
Yes.
but it's great to be able to get a lot of diversity, and just the pool of authors is pretty low. How many authors were there? Like 50 or more?
I think you shamed me at some point because there were so many.
Yeah, you look indecisive.
Yes,
but there's a lot of authors, and it's a wide variety of points of view that we just wouldn't get if we didn't do it that way.
I was blown away by the Pac-Man episode. I absolutely love it. For more abstract episodes like Pac-Man, you took them straight to the screenplay process. What determines whether a story follows traditional route or goes directly to a screenplay?
I mean, if the traditional route is sort of pitched to the pros to a screenplay, it's just. We did about 4 or 5 rounds of pitching on Pac-Man, but there wasn't really anything that we felt was like just the right thing. And we took a lot of the ingredients from the pitching, and Tim and JT Petty, our head writer, sort of workshopped the screenplay a little bit. But honestly, there's a moment when you're reading a story and it's just like this sort of like light bulb goes off and you're like, this is it. And if you've seen Pac-Man, so it's weird, and I think in the best way possible. But I would even say like that. Like I think if anyone read that story on the page and you looked what Victor and Alfredo, the directors, the Headless, did, I don't even think it's still that script. It is, but like they really gave it a life of its own. And I remember when that story reel came in from them, it was, I don't think it's changed like a frame since it came in. It was just like, holy shit, this is amazing. Like, and it really needed, like, it's so fucking weird. Like, it felt like we were disemboweling people's childhoods with that episode. Like that, it just needed a really, really strong voice, and they knocked it out the park. So it was a process of, I don't think it followed a typical route, but like we knew that episode needed a strong filmmaker, and even the director's pitch was amazing for it. Like they, reference like Mandy. Like Mandy and Pac-Man don't seem to go mesh well together as a creative touchstone, but it worked awesome.
It worked. Now, the first episode out of the series is Warhammer, and it's incredible. For fans out there, I think they're going to eat it up. You've mentioned that Warhammer's episode has a unique tone. Can you share more about what sets that apart from the other episodes in the series?
I'll take that. Just
Dave directed it. So.
Yeah, directed it. I think it's very difficult with an IP like Warhammer's been around 40 years, like to even pick like what race and what chapter and et cetera, et cetera. So what we were hoping to do was like, let's embody the tone and the spirit of what it means to sort of be in the sort of grim darkness of the far future. But how it varies from the other, like I think that would be, if I was to say how it varies from the others, like in that we didn't try and tell a very specific story about one event in a time and a place. It was more like an emotional, like we talk about it as like a violent tone poem for what Warhammer is. And I will, to their credit, Games Workshop was very, very on board with that idea, like because they understand like how would we do like service to all our fans or all those chapters. And so in how it varies, I think in other cases like Exodus and sort of franchises that were finding their feet, we wanted to be a little more specific and play a little bit more in the lane they were establishing for themselves.
Now, Tim, considering the dynamic world of gaming, how do you see Secret Level evolving in the future?
I think there's a lot more of this that we could do, even just, even in the format that we've created. But I don't see any reason why we can't do all kinds of different structures like miniseries. There's a world in which you could do 3 20-minute episodes that tell almost a movie's worth of material, or you could you could focus on a certain brand, a certain tone, like this is just for adults, or this is for a certain type of audience of that game, and that it doesn't have to be this 2 years between seasons sort of thing. We hope to do a lot more under the Secret Level banner, and because there's a lot of other different ways we can explore the world of gaming, and the more we work on the show, the more possibilities we see, and I think people will come in and suggest things to us too. in a way like, hey, could you do this?
And it's also like one of the things that, and we challenged ourselves from the outset, was like, we're gonna get to take bigger risks than on like $150 million video game adaptation. There's there are things to serve when you're spending that much money, and I think we really got to take like some chances, like Armored Core, Pac-Man. I think it'd be difficult to make a $100 million Pac-Man movie the way we made it, but like we're hoping that like these are test beds for like bolder statements with what video game adaptations can be.
Have you guys already started planning out season 2 and some of the IPs for season 2?
We cannot think that far.
Fair enough.
I'm kidding.
Fair enough. Listen, I'm just
or
excited.
we can't talk about thinking that far.
Fair enough. Look, Secret Level is phenomenal. I can't wait for the world to see it. This is the best kind of like video game like entertainment that I've seen in such a long time.
Thank you.
Fantastic job, guys.
Very proud of the show.
As you should be. It's incredible. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.